I thought it would be nice to do a Q&A session. So let's start off with, what is my why? Why do I share my life online? And the answer is, I find that there are a lot of misconceptions about Orthodox Judaism, and what I'm trying to do is share from a loving place. I am an Orthodox Jew and I love the lifestyle that I live. And I find that sometimes Orthodox Judaism is misrepresented in media and doesn't portray it correctly or from a negative lens. And so what I'm trying to do is share my own personal life from a place of love and positivity. And I do that. I try to be as open as possible to share and answer questions, and that's one of the things that we're going to do right now. I'm going to answer some questions that some of you have sent. Okay, first question. Hi, can a Jewish woman shake hands with a man if not married? With a friend, I mean. So I want to start this off by sharing a story. I recently went out to dinner and I met somebody who said, "Hi, I just wanted to let you know you got me into trouble." And I was like, okay. It was this man that said that he was doing a business deal and he wears a yarmulke on his head. And when he met this lady that he was doing some business with, he extended his hand to shake. And she said, "You can't do that because you're an Orthodox Jew." And I just watched Miriam Ezagui's video about how she doesn't shake hands with men that are not part of her family. So let's get into this a little bit and I'm going to explain. So the law that I follow is that I do not touch men outside of my family. So I touch my grandfather, father, brother, son, and husband. Now, there are people that have the opinion that if you're doing something for a business and you don't want to embarrass somebody, that there can be some leniencies about shaking hands, which is what this man was basically doing. Other people say they don't do that. It's like one of these things where here's the black and white rule, but there are shades of gray. Now, what I will say is when it comes to a person's health, you'll oftentimes hear me say we live by the laws, not die by them. When it comes to a person's health, it does not matter what gender, you can provide health care to anybody. So I am a nurse, my husband is a paramedic, and there is no laws against treating somebody of the opposite gender. So I could assist somebody that was a man, my husband could assist somebody that was a woman, and reverse, if I was a patient, I could both have a male or female healthcare provider. Personally, I do feel more comfortable with female providers. So, for example, all of my children have been delivered by midwives and they have all been female. I have one time met a male midwife in my lifetime, but all of my midwives have been women, and that's just something that I am personally more comfortable with. But if there was a situation where I need to have a male provider, that does not go against any of our religious beliefs. Okay, this next question is not about my religious lifestyle, but it was asked about 100 times, and that is, do I plan to go back to work after maternity leave? And the answer is 100% yes. One thing you should know about me is I am a super passionate person, and I knew from a very young age that I wanted my profession to be in the labor and delivery room and I decided to choose nursing as a profession. And it's something that I love doing. I am also a content creator, which I don't know if this is a debate or not, but content creating is definitely also a profession that takes up a lot of my time, which I am also super passionate about. And the other thing that I am passionate about is my children. So I am going to try and take as long as possible maternity leave, but I do plan to go back to work once that is over because I love being in the delivery room. I love helping parents with that special process of bringing new life into the world. And it's something that is really, really important to me. Okay, next question. How old will the girls be when they start covering their hair, and do I prepare them for it? Okay, so in case you don't know, this is not my real hair. This is a wig. Let me see if I can kind of show you. So hair covering starts after marriage. It's if a Jewish woman never gets married, she doesn't have to cover her hair. So my children, there's no like set age. It's based off of when they get married. And it is 100% their own choice. If they choose to cover, if they choose not to, there are various different ways to cover also. So I cover my hair as much as possible. So I wear a wig usually when I'm out and about. In the home setting, I usually wear something called a tichel, or like a hat that kind of looks like a beanie. The tichel is like a scarf. But there are a lot of different ways that people choose to cover their hair. Some people will show like the first couple of inches. Other people do not. And as far as like if I prepare my children, I will say, I think just simply like me wearing a wig myself prepares them for the idea of head covering at a later point in their life. And for example, when the wigs are not on my head, they live on what's called a sheitel stand or a wig stand. And simply just having that in my home, in my bedroom, my kids see it, they are very much aware to the fact that I cover my hair. A black and white world, there are shades of gray. So my mom dresses modestly, but she has chosen not to cover her hair. I remember I was babysitting for an Orthodox family one time when I was a teenager, and I went to do something, I think like the baby woke up or something. I had to go into their master bedroom to pick up the baby, and on their dresser were wigs, and I kind of like got like a little bit of a jump scare because that wasn't something that I grew up with. But it made sense. I knew that the mother wore a wig. I had just never seen it, not on her head. And so in that regard, like I think it does kind of prepare my children because they live in a home where their mother covers her hair. But it will 100% be their decision as to whether they do or don't cover and how much when they get married. Do I ever wear pants? Yes, I wear pajama pants to bed, but that's about it. As an Orthodox Jew, I dress modestly, or in Hebrew we say keep tznius, and the requirements that I follow are covering my elbows, knees, and collarbone, and I only wear skirts or dresses. So I do not wear pants out in public. And I think there's also a lot of misconceptions about modesty and the reasons that we dress modestly. And it's not because women are beautiful. Our bodies are beautiful, and we can very much look beautiful in the clothes that we choose to wear. The reason that we keep modest and don't show or reveal certain parts of our body is because we believe that our body is holy, and that whenever you have extreme holiness, the Jewish belief is that we cover that up. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples that also don't involve women. Some do, but one example of extreme holiness is when the high priests on the holidays, the Kohanim, the Kohens, say the priestly blessing. They cover themselves in their prayer shawl called a talis, and they bless the congregation. And the reason that they cover themselves up is because they are bringing a strong blessing from God, and that is considered to be very holy. And so they cover themselves with a prayer shawl so that we do not look upon them during this holy time. And so the same thing is with a woman's body. Another example of this is that when we had the Beis Hamikdash, the Holy Temple, in the Holies of Holies, the Aron, the Ark, held the Luchos, the 10 Commandments. And these were not on display for everybody to see. They were kept hidden away because of their extreme holiness. And so too is the human body. It is the house of our soul. And because our souls are holy and they live within our bodies, we believe that our bodies are holy, and so that is the reason that we cover them up. And this is also, I just want to stress that how people keep modest is, again, going to look different for everybody. And if somebody doesn't dress the way I do not pass any judgment on them. This is a very personal and individual decision. I'm just sharing what I do personally. Do my older kids help with the baby? So I'm a big believer in not giving children responsibilities outside of like their pay grade, so to speak, but they love to hold her, and simply holding her is sometimes a big help for me. Like, I remember when I had my first baby, like taking a shower was a luxury. Now that I have older children, I can so easily ask them like, hey, can you hold Massetti for a minute so I can run and take a shower? That in itself is a huge help, and they love to hold her. They fight over holding her. So that's kind of like, one time I let Zahava dress her in like change her clothes, and she absolutely loved it. She was like dressing a baby doll, but that's not something that is like one of their responsibilities. Okay, this is an interesting question. How do I handle a situation where an uninvited male contact, i.e. like puts their hand or arm around you? And funny story, because yes, such things have happened before. One time I had just finished a delivery with a patient, and some deliveries are different than others. This particular one, I became very close with the patient. We spent a lot of time together, and it was a more difficult delivery, and it was incredibly successful. And as I said goodbye to her, I leaned in and gave her a hug. And on my way out, her husband was very emotional too. And he just like came and gave me this big hug. And I didn't hug him back, but I didn't push him away either. I just kind of accepted the hug, and because it was so sincere, and again, it was such an emotional time for all of us, and I would never want to embarrass somebody. I think that's really important to note. If offered the chance to shake somebody's hand, I usually do politely decline, but if I am not given a choice in the matter, I'm never looking to embarrass anybody. Favorite books to read to my children. So I actually did a reenactment of my favorite books to read to like my younger children. Dasi did the reenactment of it. It was actually super cute, I thought. It's this book called Is It Shabbos Yet? And it goes through the steps that a family does to prepare for Shabbos. So going shopping for food, making the Shabbos meal, cleaning, taking a bath or a shower, setting up the table, setting up the candles, lighting the candles. And it was really sweet for my older children. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. It was like when those books were coming out, I was in like middle school and high school, and I've read them to Naomi, and then she started reading them herself. She completed the entire set. Like, I started reading it to her, and then she started reading it on her own, and was in 3rd grade when she completed those books. So that was pretty impressive, and she's read the series once more since then. We're big readers in this family. I love reading, and I definitely love to encourage my children to read, and I think that starts at an early age. Are Orthodox Jews allowed to get tattoos? No. Any permanent tattoos are not allowed. It is a direct Torah prohibition. However, I will say that there is a misconception about whether Jewish people that have tattoos, if they're allowed to get buried in a cemetery, a Jewish cemetery. I was always told growing up that you were not allowed to, but that isn't actually a prohibition. A private cemetery could definitely refuse anybody burial, because if they're a private cemetery, they have that right. But there is no religious law against being buried in a Jewish cemetery if you have a tattoo on your body. Also, I like to say that there are Jewish people that have tattoos and then became more religious, and it's not something that if you have a tattoo on your body, you're not allowed to live a religious lifestyle. There are people that have tattoos and live as Orthodox Jews. Also, something to note is my grandmother, who is a Holocaust survivor, has tattooed numbers on her arm, and obviously those were not put on her with her consent. So that's no mark on her soul, so to speak, because it was done without her intention. Is a school my daughters attend to year-round? No. They go to school 10 months of the year, and they have 2 months off in the summertime, which we send them to day camp. Naomi last summer went to sleepaway camp for the first time, and she absolutely loved it, and we did enroll her in sleepaway camp again for this summer, but it is super hard to get into. I mean, like, think about getting into like some Ivy League college. Like I joke around that it's like just as hard, but we're hoping that since she was accepted last year to this camp, that it'll be easier for her to get in. It's also going to be her bat mitzvah this year, so that's exciting. She has a summer birthday. But we send our girls to an Orthodox Jewish day school, and it's the older girls go to an all-girls school. The Dasi is in preschool, and while it is a Jewish setting, they at 2, 3, 4 years old, it is mixed with boys and girls. Once they get a little older, the schools separate them, and that's in our community. There are Orthodox Jewish day schools that are co-ed. Okay, and let's end with some rapid fire questions. Not really, I see what they are, but the answers are going to be shorter. How old am I? 38. Do we have a television in our house? No. Do I speak Hebrew? I do not speak Hebrew fluently. I can read and write Hebrew, and I know some words and phrases. Also, biblical Hebrew, the Hebrew that appears in the Torah, is not the same as the spoken language. So it's a little different. And if you're interested in learning more about my life as an Orthodox Jew, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.